Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have with me a guest. I have my friend Lilian with me, and she is actually another Canadian, which I usually don't have. I don't know why not many Canadians. I would love to have more. So, hit me up if you are a Canadian and you would like to come join me on the podcast. That'd be great. But I have Lilian with me today. And Lillian, introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, Tara. It's great to be here. I am a media authority amplifier. So I work with established entrepreneurs and authors to increase their cash flow by leveraging their authentic stories to appear on the right stages and be featured on the right media platforms in interviews. Because the reality is stories sell.
Hmm.
Stories build trust and credibility, and I make sure for my clients that their story helps them get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's so true. Stories are huge. And that's what everyone's looking for is the story piece because that's what's going to connect you to other people. And what I want to know before we go into that side of it is how did you get into this? Because I think too, we hear like, well, you said media amplifier, but I think we hear more of the PR side of things. And it's like PR, I feel like people so often think of like celebrities when they hear PR. It's like, you know, and we had talked about this before when we just like connected on a chat, how like it's like crisis management PR.
Yeah.
That's what people mostly think of. But how
Mhm.
did you get into this? Tell like some of your story.
I've always been a creative storyteller at heart. Like, I love reading and writing stories. And growing up, it was actually my goal to make a living as a novelist. This was pre-self-publishing, right? So my brother said to me, he's like, if you're waiting for publishers to take notice, you're going to starve. Like, you should
Yeah,
probably
just do it.
take this and figure out what else you can do with it. So when I was in university, I was a double English and communications major, and I was looking for work experience because I had joined up with our cooperative education program. And I was like, if people are going to hire me for these roles, they need to know what I can do. And in order to do that, I need to build a portfolio. So my business 18 years ago actually started out of a desire to build a freelance portfolio and out of a desire to help entrepreneurs tell their stories at the time through social media strategy and through copywriting. So I got a lot of gigs doing like website copywriting, print collateral for trade shows, social media strategy, and that. And I had people come to me who were working with me on those projects at the time, and they'd be like, do you do PR? Because I have an event coming up. I'd like somebody to write the media release because I'm no good at that. And that wasn't something that I knew how to do, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I thought, because I was at a personal crossroads too, like we were engaged, we were wedding planning, we were moving. At the time, business was not going well. I actually spent an entire calendar year not making a cent. So I thought, what do I have to lose
Hmm.
to try this out? Let's see if I'm any good at it. This is a new challenge for me. So when we moved back to Vancouver, I cut my teeth working for several agencies in town and ended up falling in love with doing it for like indie film and television, food and beverage, tourism and hospitality. Also dabbled with sports and fitness because
Hmm.
the Steve Nash Fitness World brand was a client of ours back in the day. So I did some work for them. And then when I branched off on to my own and how I incorporated coaching into all of it was because I started realizing that there were patterns that were coming up.
Yeah.
So I'd have people book a discovery call with me, or people book a discovery call with the agency I was working with, and I would sit in on those calls. And they would come to us and have absolutely no idea what PR even was or what they wanted to do with it. Nothing. They were there because somebody else told them it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So instead of spending time talking about, hey, this is how we can work together, we spent a lot more time trying to even educate them on what our industry is.
Yeah.
So when I branched out on my own and I spent a chunk of years doing campaigns and doing done for you at stuff as a service provider, I realized that that was a gap in knowledge and education that the industry was really lacking because the agency model, they're not going to spend time doing that for you.
No.
They work with clients who come to them and be like, hey, I want to do
They just want it done.
XYZ. Yeah, like can you
Yeah.
get me to point B,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. They
They
don't
don't have
care about
time.
what it is. They just want it
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, so they don't have time to educate the folks that need that education.
Yeah.
And they, quite frankly, when you have a team of 10 or 15 people relying on you, you've got overhead, you've got all these other things. You don't have time to be educating people who don't know what this is, right?
Hmm.
And because of that lack of education, I also heard a lot of stories where people were like, I saved up 15 grand to work with an agency out of New York or whatever to get a campaign done. And they got me interviews. I had a ton of fun going on the radio and everything
Yeah.
else. But
Yeah.
then they said that didn't translate to anything. That
Yeah.
didn't translate to business. It didn't translate to book
Uh-huh.
sales, like whatever it was that they wanted to do. And they said it didn't translate to that because I thought that as the expert, they knew what they were doing. And I didn't feel comfortable speaking up and advocating for myself and my goals and what I actually wanted to do ultimately
Yeah.
with this campaign. So for
Yeah.
me, as a coach, it's all been about education and empowerment. Like, in addition to making sure you have all the knowledge and the tools at your disposal, I want to
Hmm.
make sure that you have the confidence to be able to better advocate for your goals and make better informed decisions about where is my money going
Yeah.
and is this actually going to move the needle as a lead generator to get
Yes.
me in front of the people I want to be in front of?
Exactly. And I like when you said, they're booking all of the speaking events, they're getting you on TV, they're getting you on whatever. This is like the, I don't know what to call it, but like, this is the thing. Sure, you might book all of the things, but if it's not actually getting you anywhere, well, what's the point? What's the point?
Mhm.
And that's like when you're talking about the gap there, that is it. And so, how did you come in and, fill that gap for people so that when they were going on these, when they were booking these things, then it was actually converting to clients, it was converting to sales, all of this stuff.
Couple of different things, right? Basically, I look at it as a four-part structure. It's like,
Hmm.
what is your signature narrative? So, what are the magnetic golden nuggets that we're going to pull out of your story that
Yeah,
people actually want to hear about and learn from? Because
yeah,
I've heard from so many people that say things like, oh, my story's not interesting. Well, actually, it
yeah,
is. Because it's unique to your experiences, right?
yeah,
And those experiences have informed your expertise and informed
Yeah.
how you approach different things. Like I talked to a woman who, in addition to being a business owner, she's also a flight attendant for Air Canada.
Yeah.
Well, with the routine she's built up for herself, she never gets jet lag. That's the kind of thing that
Yeah.
leisure and business travelers would kill to learn
Like
more about,
how? Tell us
right?
all. I
Yeah,
don't
so
travel, but like people who travel need to know.
yeah, it's like those magnetic golden nuggets is what we pull out of
Yes.
it. But also, it's like, what is your visibility architecture, your strategy? So, like,
Yeah.
what kind of platforms are we getting you on,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's podcasts, whether it's magazines, whether it's speaking engagements, what are we getting you on? Is it the right audience? And at the
Yes.
same time, how can we ensure that your current ecosystem is set up to
Yeah.
accept the audience members that will come through after having listened to your podcast interview, or they've attended one of
Hmm.
your speaking gigs and they actually want come up to you and want to continue the conversation? How is your
Yeah.
ecosystem set up, right? Because if you don't have that ecosystem, it's basically two things. A, you're going to get nowhere if you're getting on the wrong kinds of platforms,
Exactly.
right? And
I
and
talk about this
B,
too. Yeah.
you also will get nothing if your ecosystem is not set up to keep these people in your orbit, right? To keep them a
Yes.
part of your audience, to allow them to continue to engage with you. Because hopefully, what will happen is like, yeah, that speaking gig, that podcast was opening the door to who you are and helping you build trust and credibility with them. But
Yeah.
the more they stay in your audience,
Hmm.
you have more opportunity to continue to build relationships with them, and hopefully they'll buy from you and become a client, right?
Yeah.
And with that is also the amplification method. How are we amplifying everything? How are we promoting everything? Are
Yeah.
we doing what we can in different ways across different platforms to get eyeballs on what you're doing, to get
Hmm.
ears on what you're doing, right? To get readers, viewers, listeners, whatever it is that you're looking for in
Yeah.
order to continue to grow your audience and get you those leads. And what is basically the overarching umbrella that influences all of that is the subconscious limiting beliefs.
Hmm.
If you have been stuck up to this point, I work with my clients on where is that fear, that anxiety, that imposter syndrome coming from?
Yeah.
Can we identify what's triggering that to come to the surface, what the root causes are, and how to build healthy coping mechanisms so that it's not about getting rid of those feelings,
Hmm.
but making sure that you have a robust toolbox to
Yeah.
help you deal with them as they come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I, that is also good. I want to talk about first, we'll get into like the storytelling stuff in a second because I think that that's like a huge thing that we really need to touch on because there's so much that I could talk about with that. And I know you can too. What I find really interesting though about what you said, and it's something very similar to what I do with clients as well, is especially looking at the right platforms, the right podcasts, the right interviews, like all of these things instead of, I find a lot of people are just like, well, I want to get on anything just to get out there. And it's like, but you don't though,
Hmm.
because you're wasting your time. You're making yourself more busy than you need to, and you're not reaching the right people. And then you have to go on more just to actually reach the right people because you didn't go on the right ones in the first place. So let's figure out where your people actually are so that you can reach them the first time. And making sure that, like you said, having that ecosystem there and that's like the systems in place that are actually going to support the people that are listening to you to come into your business. Having, freebies available, having offers that are appropriately set up for people to actually come in. All of that is so important. And I feel like there's a lot of missing links that people don't always think about when they go to do this because they're just like, oh, I gotta get myself out there. Like that's what it is. It's just getting your name out there, but they forget about all of the other things.
Exactly. Yeah, because, having that initial buzz is great in putting like a face to the name, is putting a name to the voice that people get to hear and read about and hear directly from you. And the power there too is that, like, here's the other part that so many entrepreneurs that just get fixated on social media tend to forget.
Hmm.
Social is great for building your own initial audience, and it's great for you sharing your own content.
Yeah.
However, all of that comes from you or your team, right? The
Hmm.
the beauty of doing a media campaign and doing speaking events is that now you have other people, other platforms that have their own reputations, their own trust and credibility factors, saying to their audiences, hey, you got to listen to this interview with Tara because she talks with about all of these different things, and it's going to help you do XYZ,
Yeah.
right? That is powerful third party endorsement and credibility that you can't get anywhere else. You're not going to get just from doing social media. You're not going to get from email marketing or paying for ads, right?
Yeah.
That is the beauty of it, is that you are using their platform to leverage your own authentic story in order to
Hmm.
get in front of new audiences that you wouldn't have otherwise had access to. So that's the part that I think a lot of folks also miss,
Yeah.
right? But to your point, like, it has to be the right target audiences. Like for me, I'm not about to go on a healthcare podcast
Yeah.
when that's not, I am not a health coach, I am not a healthcare practitioner, I am not a clinical counselor or a therapist. Like, it makes no sense for me to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about being more discerning too
Yes.
on, hey, like, this, if I'm going to do this, don't just spray and pray, but really look at, what are your goals? Where do you
Yeah.
actually want to take this? Because that's going to inform where you're going to be and also give you some insights onto where's my audience hanging out? Like, what are they listening to? Who are they following? Like,
Yeah.
where should I be to get my message, my story, and what I do in front of them?
Yeah. Exactly. I 100% agree. Absolutely love that. And okay, so let's talk about the storytelling because I think that this is so huge. I feel like, especially with online, there's more of a shift, especially in more recent times, to like people really wanting to hear more of your story and connect with people and like getting to know the human behind the business, behind the brand, more than just like, oh, it's a business. This is very transactional and you're just like paying someone for whatever.
Mhm.
Like they actually want to know about you. I had a conversation with a client yesterday about this, and it was like, yeah, like, there's, and I want to hear your thoughts on this too. There's like a definitely way to share your story where it's not like, yeah, don't trauma dump on the internet, but like, I think trauma is also a word that's overused and used wrong and whatever. That's a whole different conversation. But, um, there's also this like side of it where some people just don't share anything at all, and it's very just disconnected. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there is a line, and I tell my clients this all the time, that there is a line between what is personal versus what is private, and you
Yeah.
get to choose where that line is.
Hmm.
And you have to remember that when they're asking for your story, what they're doing is they're asking for certain pieces of it
Yeah.
that relate to your journey as an entrepreneur and as a business owner.
Hmm.
So they're not asking for your entire life story. You're not meant to be, word vomiting a memoir
Yeah.
on a podcast, right? They are asking for specific pieces as it relates to your journey as an entrepreneur because they believe that those pieces will be entertaining, captivating, and educating to their audiences.
Hmm.
That's really what they're looking for when they're looking for content and to have great conversations with entrepreneurs out there that they believe are making an impact in the world and that can add value to their audiences. That's really what it comes down to. So, really figuring out where that line is and how much of that you want to share is up to you as the entrepreneur. But to go to the other end of the spectrum for people that don't share anything, and it's really disconnected because they're worried about judgment, they're worried about rejection, maybe there could be some security issues or insecurity issues in there, as
Yeah.
it were. The problem with that is, and most people don't think about it this way, is the longer you stay quiet and the longer you just kind of let the world pass you by, and you see these other entrepreneurs getting opportunities that you might want for yourself, is that you might be in danger of somebody publicly hijacking your narrative
Hmm.
for their own gains and saying things about you based on their own perspectives that are not your reality.
Yeah.
So if you're not already out there and speaking your truth and talking about why you chose to do what you do now and the impact that you're making, to have to come out with a counteract
Yeah.
narrative to try and counteract what someone else is saying about you when you don't have experience in this is 100 times harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it's like PR crisis management.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that is something that too many entrepreneurs out there believe that it's only Fortune 500 companies and celebrities that have to worry about that kind of stuff, when in reality, anybody can
Hmm.
get hit with a situation like that.
Yeah.
And you get hit with a situation like that because it escalates
Yeah.
before you decide to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because we do see this a lot. And, there are many different narratives about many different people online.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because, some have countered them, some haven't, some I think leave them because they are partially true and they can't say anything to the contrary. I don't know. But it is interesting. And I think that's where this comes into like, the PR, the crisis management. And like for someone like me, well, I also share about myself, so I don't know what someone would say, whatever. But I think for someone that doesn't have as large of an audience, it's not like I I don't know. I would be surprised if someone tomorrow was like, Tara Leeson, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, okay, that'd be weird. But for these other people, this like PR crisis management is a real thing. If you don't actually share some real things about you. And it's really interesting to me because there's a number of people that I can think of, like off the top of my head, that don't.
I mean, what it is at the end of the day is reputation management and
Yeah.
reputation growth, right? How are you coming out and sharing your story and representing you the way you want to be represented? And I think the other part of it is that people don't realize is, it's about the business, it's about, what I do, when in reality there are thousands of people who do the same things out there.
Hmm.
Thousands. So then the question becomes, if we were to put you side by side with somebody who does exactly the same thing, same price point, same looking website, maybe copy is similar when they're talking about modalities in their business, if it's a coach and things like that. How is somebody who is looking for those services going to decide between the two of you if they don't already know a little bit about you,
Yeah.
right? Because booking a call with somebody can be nerve-wracking even when you feel stuck and you need help,
Yeah.
right? That takes time and energy out of your day to do that. So if it's two people I don't know anything about, I'm not inclined to book a call
Yeah.
unless I hear this person in an interview and it's like, oh, hey, like I actually found them on Google and everything, and now I know a little bit about them. I
Hmm.
think what they said resonates with me
Yeah.
because I believe that they understand what I'm going through and they can help me solve my problems. Let me book a call with them as
Yeah.
opposed to the other person that they know nothing about.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I actually, that was a, it's interesting. That was another thing I talked to my client about yesterday in just the whole like, sharing different things aspect. And I said, if there were two people that did the exact same thing, the one that is actually showing some of that human side is the one people are going to connect with and actually go with over the one that is not, even though you both have the exact same credentials every single time.
Because, results and client results and transfer, like those are great. Not
Mhm.
saying you shouldn't have them, but speaking as a business owner, like I was a publicist for 7, 8 years, and I spent those 7, 8 years hiding behind my client testimonials and my reviews because it's like they show people what I can do for them. It's like, yeah, they show the results. They show that I
Yeah,
can, get you media interviews and this. What it doesn't tell them is, who am I?
yeah,
Who are they actually getting when they come to work with me? How do I understand their fears and anxieties if I'm not willing to share about where I've been on that front and how my journey has gone? So for me, it really became about, if I'm going to be coaching clients to walk the walk, I can't in good conscience do that if I'm not willing to lead by example.
yeah, yeah. And I think we're seeing that so much now with especially like values and just so many things playing out. A lot of people are looking for those things. They want to know, especially what you support, what you don't, and looking for that because, you're part of the safer list. That's a
Mhm.
huge example. People really want to know those things and they don't. I had someone that actually, this is a good example of this. I had someone that reached out to me to be on the safer list and um like she is on it, but she said it was because she had worked with someone that she only found out later had totally different values to her once
Mhm.
they started working together. And it was like awful,
Mhm.
awful. And, there's things like that too that play into it. And it's so, I feel like that aspect of it too is so interesting, especially now with the world and everything that's going on. And I wonder, because you've been doing this for like so many years, like how many years have you had your business doing this for?
This year, like starting way back from the beginning when it was initially a copywriting and the social media
Yeah.
strategy side of things, it's been 18 years.
Yeah. Okay,
S-
that's what I thought.
So, I've kind of gone through this part of it too, where it's like some of it is a psychology thing, some
Yeah.
of it is just a human relationship thing. Like, because, to your point about the woman who joined the safer list, I found out towards the end of my tenure with one of the PR agencies I loved working with that my boss, who I trusted, I had a great relationship with, she had never been anything but accommodating and giving and thoughtful to me, uh, was a Trump supporter
Yeah.
in 2016. And I struggled with that for a long time because there was the question of, wait a minute, I'm not the only person who is a woman of color in her life that she does not treat differently. So how do you reconcile this kind of thing? And when we're
Yeah.
talking about storytelling and transparency
Yeah.
around that, those types of areas become a lot more important to disclose
Yeah.
early on and often because you want to make sure as an entrepreneur and a business owner who has clients that you are not violating your own boundaries for the sake of working with someone.
Yeah.
And similarly, they're not doing the same thing in order to work with you, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I know that there's a lot of fear around that kind of transparency and that sort of authentic honesty because
Yeah.
people are worried about being judged. They are worried about losing business or, God forbid, even death threats from trolls online and things like that. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important to be true to yourself
Yeah.
and to be true to your story and your values and your boundaries and to own your own voice and
Yeah.
to share your story because the last thing you want is for someone to make damaging assumptions about who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, yeah, especially in regards to this, I mean, for me, that's why I created the safer list because I could not have that, and I think that a lot of people feel that way. And I have said before, I understand why some people can't speak out if they are, worried for their safety. I understand that. Um, and there has to be those of us that, have the privilege to be able to speak out that need to.
Mhm.
We have to. And it's so important right now to be able to do that and, share that it is a safer, I can't say safe, a safer, way to work with people, people who you can create community with, people who you can reach out to, whatever that may be. And it is very interesting when it relates to that storytelling piece because I think that it is hard for people to come to terms with that. And I know that there's people that are wrapping their head around a lot of it.
Mhm.
And there's more of that coming out over time. Um, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody who doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
I know that there is a difference too about feeling safe surrounding telling your own story
Yeah.
and feeling safe surrounding being vocal and being open about where you stand in terms of human rights and
Yeah.
things, you know, they're two very different things.
Yeah.
I remember my very first in-person speaking gig, and they actually asked me, "Hey, how did you get started in PR?" And I talked about how I made a choice to share my story of, you know, I built my business with no support from home, cultural barriers, overcoming intergenerational trauma and abuse,
Hmm.
living with a chronic illness, mental health issues. And I made the choice to do that because if I didn't, living any other way was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I had a young woman who was also Chinese come up to me and say, you know, what you taught, like what you shared about mindset really spoke to me because she said, here's where I'm at. I want to build the business that I want to have, but my question is, how do I go about doing that when I'm still living in my trauma? I'm still living at home. And
Yeah.
she just, for a lot of reasons, did not feel safe. So I
Yeah.
said to her, I said, you know, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a clinical
Yeah.
counselor. What I can tell you is what worked for me. And in
Yeah.
addition to investing in mindset coaching and letting go of a lot of my past and freeing myself from being controlled by that, I also made the decision to leave home
Yeah.
because I knew I needed to do that to save my life.
Yeah.
So I don't begrudge anybody who does not feel safe,
Yeah.
like actual physical safety and all of that when it comes to sharing their story. And I also don't begrudge anybody who does not feel safe for any reason in coming out and publicly stating rather than, you know, keeping it on client calls and things like that, what they stand for,
Yeah.
because you never know that that's kind of the microcosm that we have with social media where everybody thinks they have a right to judge your stance and your platform.
Mhm. Yeah.
You obviously have control
Yeah.
over what you choose to put out there into the world and what you want to say. After that though, you release control
You sure
be
do.
with love and with
Yeah.
compassion and empathy because that's up to however the audience wants to
Yeah.
interpret that. So I never begrudge somebody who does not want to say anything
Yeah.
because you never know what they may be dealing with. Their business could be struggling, they could be in debt, they could be underwater. If their primary focus is putting food on the table,
Yeah.
then that's where their focus is going to go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that it it's so important the point that you made there also about, when you do post something and you have to release it. And a lot of people have a really hard time with that because that's the part that I think with the whole storytelling thing and with all of this that people have the hardest part with is once it's out there, you do have to release that and realize that it doesn't, and I've said this like a ton of times, whether it's something that's really controversial with which anything that's like political or value based or anything like that is always going to be. It doesn't matter what it is, it's always going to be controversial.
Mhm.
Whether it's that, whether it's like the least controversial thing you can possibly think of in your entire life, it doesn't matter what you post, someone's going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
It literally does not matter. And if you are going to be on social media, you kind of have to be okay with that. It doesn't mean that you have to be okay with necessarily what people say or how they act or what they do because you still have control over mute, block, delete, all of that. But you have to know that once it's out there, people are able to say whatever they want.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that fear and anxiety when it comes to taking that to the next level by doing a podcast interview or a magazine article or a
Hmm.
blog article or a speaking engagement really amplifies those fear and
Yeah.
anxieties in a lot of entrepreneurs. And what I would say to that is taking out the issue of actual like physical safety, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't actually have a threat on your life
Yes. Yeah.
for going out there and being visible and owning your own story. What I always say to them is the people that resonate with your story,
Hmm.
those are your people. Those are
Yeah.
your audiences. Those are the people that
Hmm.
at some point may want to work with you. Those are the people that you want to foster strong rapport and relationships with. The
Yeah.
other people that have the judgmental opinions, they're rejecting what you have to say. First of all, that says more about them than it does about you, number
It sure
one.
does.
And number two,
Yeah.
if they're not ready to hear what it is that you have to say, based on your own experiences and how that's influenced how you do business and how you
Yeah.
approach your clients, then release them because they are not your
Yeah.
people. You don't have to internalize
No.
their rejection or their judgment or their negative opinions. That is
Hmm.
not an absolute in doing this, right? You still have control over that. And if you choose to focus on the people that are saying, wow, I really feel seen by
Yeah.
what Tara had to say in the interview and everything. Like it makes sense to me. I think I should book a call with her because I think she can really help me with what I'm dealing with.
Hmm.
Then that is the exact positive impact that you want to make. Everything else is just white noise. Get rid of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Exactly. And it is, I'm gonna say, like, it's really, really hard at first to get there. And it does, especially when you first start posting on social media and you see like the first comments from like trolls or es- even from people that you know,
Hmm.
that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that it's not hard and that it's not shitty and that you're not like, what the fuck is this?
Hmm.
Like, I 100% say that it's like not fun at all. Like, that's not what we're saying. But it's also, it's not a reflection on you. Like, it's really not. That is a them problem.
Hmm.
And it does take time, though, to get to a place where you're okay with accepting that because at first, I think it is people do take that on a lot. I know I talk with clients a lot through that, especially when they post something that's very opinionated.
Hmm.
You know, we do talk through these things and we sometimes break down even different comments. And I'm like, but is that really true?
Hmm.
You know, and seriously, when you look at that comment, ask yourself that, like, is that really true of yourself? Like, it's not. Some person on the internet decided instead of scrolling past to be an asshole,
Yeah.
you know, and you can decide to delete the comment even though people fucking hate that. You actually can. I
Yeah.
will give you the permission right now. You can.
It really comes down to whose opinion and
Yeah.
an external validation are you giving power
Yeah.
over your actions, over your strategy, over your mindset.
Yeah.
And it comes down to if you are always outsourcing that to other people, you're never going to get anywhere because you're always going to be looking outside of yourself to get that sense of validation, to get that sense of self-worth. When in
Hmm.
reality, it's, your story is worthy of being told.
Yeah.
What you do is important. It's making a positive impact already. And people need to hear more about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that getting positive feedback is not a good thing. It absolutely is.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you have to internally have confidence within yourself
Yeah.
that I know what it is that I'm doing
Yeah.
because of everything that I've been through and how my experiences have shaped my expertise, my approach, and why what I do
Yeah.
is different from what other people do and how I do it? So I mean, for me, and what I tell my clients all the time is focus on celebrating and acknowledging how far you've come
Yeah.
and being able to celebrate having that confidence to get out there and share your story is no small feat, right?
Hmm.
Regardless of whether or not you get any positive or negative
Yeah.
comments or anything like that, just being able to go out there and do it is worth being celebrated. But to avoid wasting your time and energy, you have to have that ecosystem set up so that when
Yeah.
people come to you, it's like, okay, this person found me because they listened to the YouTube episode. Now they're a newsletter subscriber or they're following me on social media, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like it's important to build your own sense of inner validation and remind yourself of like, hey, like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think one last thing I just want to chat about quickly because it's interesting when you said, you really do have to have that inner motivation. This is an interesting thing. And I 1000% agree because you can't wait for the external validation to come from what you're doing because you're probably going to wait a long time because
Mhm.
especially when you first start, like if you're expecting thousands of likes or whatever, like people reaching out, it's not going to happen at first. It's just not. you know. Um, I think it's also interesting in thinking about this in the way of when you are truly so behind telling your own story and like so genuine and so like true to your values and true to yourself and what you are saying, it also doesn't become a thing where you're being inauthentic or ingenuine and saying things that, you feel like you just should say to kind of go with the crowd or like, you know, make to or say to make you sound better kind of thing. And then you get backlash from that because that is another thing. And I did want to add to when I said like you can delete comments because I think where people get mad at that is when people delete comments that are actually should be left on things
Mhm.
that are deserved. Um, and I get that. Like some people have shitty ass takes and but the thing is, what I'm trying to get at here is if you are like so true to your story, to yourself, to your values, the likelihood of you coming out with like some kind of weird ass shitty take is a lot less than if you are trying to, you know, kind of hide yourself and just go along with what you think you should say or should be doing, you know, that kind of thing. And that truly also ties in with not thinking that you're doing this just for that positive regard and for, whatever external validation you're going to get out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, for everybody that feels like, because I've seen all kinds in 18 years, right?
I'm sure
So
you have.
I've seen the folks that will not do anything and yet stay stuck. And then they wonder why they're still stuck. I can
Yeah.
guarantee you in all of this, this is the one guarantee I can make. If you choose not to do anything to change things, you will stay stuck.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
is the reality, right? The other part of it is when they go along with someone like, they see a successful strategy for another entrepreneur or whatever, and they start posting the same way and everything becomes cookie cutter and formulaic, and they're even going after the same kind of media opportunities that someone else
Hmm.
has and everything. And then I've heard, well, why won't it work for me? Like I'm doing all of this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, why won't it work? And I sit them down and I go, okay, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
Do you want to live someone else's life?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if they told you, they were
Exactly.
super transparent with you and they told you, I built this business because I was working 70 hours a week for the first 4 years.
Yeah, do you
Do
want
you
that?
want that life?
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
the answer is no,
Stop it.
why are you following someone else's journey to meet someone else's goals? Those
Yeah.
aren't your goals.
Yes.
you know so I think it's a question of, if you're feeling stuck and you want to get out of it, number one, don't do nothing, because
Yeah.
if you do nothing, nothing changes. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
And number two, just because you see a strategy or something where you see people landing all of these different opportunities and it's like, oh, like so and so's traveling all over the country doing keynote addresses at conferences and they get like their travel and accommodation comp, like I really want to do that,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You have to remind yourself, it's like what you see online is a snippet.
Yeah.
What you see online is the successful result of a campaign that you don't know. Like maybe they've been working at this for 6 years before they got this kind of result. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So it's important to take those kinds of wins, other people's wins, with a grain of salt
Yeah.
and with the perspective that, you know, I can do it too
Yes.
because they got that result. But in order for me to land something like that, I need to build my own strategy that is catered towards achieving my goals
Yeah.
and not someone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, what is the intention here for you? Like, why do you want to do it? Because I guarantee it's different for you versus the person that you're looking at 1000% of the time.
Even if you're in exactly the same industry
Hmm.
and you serve, similar clients with similar issues,
Yeah.
it's still going to be different for them because their goals are different than
Yeah.
yours. And, the trouble with a lot of this is that you don't want to get sucked into what I call shiny object syndrome, right? Just because
Yeah.
someone else makes it look good, you
Yeah.
jump in with both feet without having first built that ecosystem, without knowing what your goals are, without knowing what the story you're going to share is.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that if you build that, and it's not genuine to who you are and what you actually want to do, what are you going to attract? You're going to attract a bunch of clients that want to work with you on something you don't even want to do.
Well, exactly. Exactly. And like, what are you doing? Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. But I love this conversation. I think we touched on so many different things, and I absolutely loved it. So, where can people find you? What are the things that you have available? Let us know. What are all the things?
Yeah, they can absolutely follow me on Instagram, Lilian Sue PR Coach. I'm there talking about storytelling, giving practical tips and actionable strategies every week. You can also find me on Facebook. I actually have a new Facebook group known as Booked, Featured, and Paid that you're a member of.
Yes, I am.
Inside there, I am offering free training once a week, and also I have a free gift for my group members as well if you join for free. It's a list of 25 platforms that are looking for guests to interview and expert speakers as well. And I just updated it, so you're going to be getting a new version if you sign up
Amazing.
now. And for any entrepreneurs that are listening to this that might be thinking, hey, I have some ideas around going like pitching for my next media strategy, but I'm not sure how to connect all the dots. I'm actually running a free 5-day one-on-one challenge where I'm going to show you the 4-step framework that's going to help you book your next media interview in 5 days or less. And you can use that framework and that strategy that I'm going to teach you to consistently book more media interviews and build that media strategy that's going to get you those leads, that is going to help you increase sales and really get out there and get visible in front of the right audiences.
I absolutely love it. Amazing. So, all of that will be in the show notes so that you can check it out, join the Facebook group, join the challenge, all of the things. Make sure you go and follow Lillian and get all of the great tips and resources. Thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely loved it.
Thanks for having me, Tara. I love these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, it was great. And if you loved listening, make sure that you give the podcast a 5-star rating and review. And as always, go after everything that you fucking want and be unapologetic about it.